Guten Morgen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alois Zwinki. I work for the World Economic Forum. I'd like to welcome you all today on this 17th edition of the Open Forum that takes place during the annual meeting week. 17 years ago, the World Economic Forum was under the impression that it would make sense to have such discussions and debates that we see in the Congress Center if we could really carry them forward and bring them before the public. So the Open Forum has always been a place where we could have discussions, maybe at a more critical level, discuss it with a critical view. And I think it's excellent if I can maybe point towards a few highlights this week. We will have one session together with the school here in Davos, and we have elaborated this presentation, this session on plastics. That's a topic that's highly discussed now amongst pupils and students in Davos. So we will have a session regarding this topic. We will also show and screen an impressive documentary that was filmed by a prize winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, and it's about child labor, 80,000 children that had to work, that were really forced to child labor, and they were liberated. Another excellent highlight will be the presence of Jane Goodall. I think all of us have seen her somewhere on TV. We've read about her. In the past 50 to 60 years, she studied apes in Africa, and she tried to raise awareness on the well-being of these animals that are so close to us humans. I'm especially happy to be able to make this first appearance here at the Open Forum with this person. I'm very proud to be able to inaugurate this Open Forum with Mr. Ernst Bromeis. So this is really the occasion for me to step aside and give the floor to Mr. Bromeis, and I hope you'll have an excellent session, and I'm sure it will be very exciting all week. We will have interesting discussions. Thank you very much for attending, and the floor is all yours, Mr. Bromeis.
Grazie. Danke vielmals.
Thank you very much, Alois, and I'd like to thank the whole WEF crew, and I'd also like to thank you for having showed up on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, for having come along. It's a very emotional moment for me to stand here before you. My path or my journey as a swimmer and water ambassador has lasted for 10 or 11 years now, and I was invited to come to the WEF, and there are many people I can see here in the room who've accompanied me along this journey, and here we are today, all of us, and it's a really very, very special moment. I don't know what moves you, what touches you, what sort of things move you in your lives, what touches you? What sort of people come close to you, touch you, move you? I started 10 years ago here in Davos, our source, and at the time I said I want to swim through the 200 lakes in the canton of Graubünden, and at the time people said, Ernst, why swim through the lakes of Graubünden? What's the point of it? And I said, I want to discover these lakes. I want to live these lakes, and I also want to send a message from these mountain lakes to people at large, to tell them that we're incredibly privileged to live in this canton, what we have in this canton, and privileged to live in this beautiful canton. It's wrong to say that we are a water fortress here in Graubünden. It's a gift. We get this water from the mountains, and it's our privilege to be able to take advantage of all this water. At the beginning of it all, of course, is the source. And I asked myself, where should I go? Where should I swim? Where to take my passion? And it became clear to me that I had to start here in the canton of Graubünden, at my own source, where I started, where I began. My story is the story of my grandparents, my parents, my wife. We've lived in this canton for years. For years we've been dependent on this water. Here you see my grandmother, Cetrina, in the village of Ardetz, where I grew up. In the Alps, in the mountains, the water was always at the focus of all life. People met at the fountain where they did their washing. This is not all that long ago. This is my grandmother, and you can see how they're building water pipes so that the water could come into people's houses, into the living space of the inhabitants. This idea of mine to swim through the lakes of Graubünden, it occurred to me in a very ordinary situation. I was in Chur, the capital of Graubünden. I was having coffee, and I don't take sugar in my coffee, but I looked at this little bag containing sugar, and there I see all the cantons of Switzerland depicted, and in the right-hand part, I beg your pardon, of the map is the canton of Graubünden, and you can't see a single great lake, not a single lake of any size. And I thought to myself, Graubünden is not a canton which has no water. We live off this water. All our life is built around this water. The winter is based on the existence of water. The hotels, permafrost melts. The permafrost keeps our mountains together. The glaciers melt. We have the runoff from the glaciers and the snow melt, which comes down to us. We had a dry summer this year. 10 years ago, when I swam through these lakes of Graubünden, people told me to go to Africa, where they have no water, where there's drought, where you'll make an impact. 10 years later, there's not a day where there's not something about water and the lack of water and the water crisis in the news, in the papers. And before I saw that little bag of sugar, and before I started my exhibition swimming through the lakes of Graubünden, I had this completely crazy idea. And I thought, just as a matter of passion, I'm going to swim right round the world. It's probably about 40,000 kilometers, maybe even more than that, to swim all around the world, right round the world. And that idea simply never left me. I couldn't get rid of it. I realized that I wouldn't be able to swim around the world. It would have taken far too long. I probably wouldn't have got back from that journey even today. It would have been far too difficult. But something very important happened. I realized then, you have a crazy idea. Okay, it may not be possible to implement that particular crazy idea, but what can I do? What can I do? What's within the bounds of my force and capabilities? And I thought, what I'm going to do is start swimming in my own canton here in Graubünden. And then after that project, I could have gone back to my normal life I could have been a sports teacher, a PT teacher, or a trainer, a coach. But I wasn't content with that. I felt that I had to take my message out into the world and speak about this privilege that we have in the canton of Graubünden. Everyone in Switzerland has that same privilege. Look at the Brialech hut. Look at the lake. That's our privilege. None of us is ever thirsty. We have enough water to drink, to swim. I swam through all the big lakes of Switzerland, the Lake of Geneva. For myself, I did this swimming because I love the challenge. I love the swimming, but I also swam with a mission, to proclaim a mission that water is a finite resource. Even in Switzerland, the famous CEO of a well-known beverage brand told me, that's not true. There will always be water. It'll come from the mountains. And I said, well, yes, it comes and goes, but there is a certain number of liters of water in the world, and every day there's less and less clean water, and that also is true of Switzerland, of our country. It was always my dream that we'd have a European water trilogy. What links the sources in the Alps and the lakes in Switzerland with the ocean? It's rivers. And I felt that I needed to swim through that bond, that connection. And which river is the most emblematic in Europe? The Rhine, of course, the Rhine. I swam the length of the Rhine 1.5 times. The first time I failed halfway. And why did I fail? Because I didn't have enough respect for the Rhine. I had planned my stages. I thought I could determine how I was going to proceed, but the Rhine was stronger than me. It was cold, there were floods, I got sick, and I had to give up on my first attempt. Second attempt, I succeeded. I managed to swim the whole length of the Rhine, over 1,000 kilometers. You can do it if you're determined to do so. Some of the team who accompanied me are here today. We were determined to swim, but swim along with nature. Somebody on the other side of Flöla Pass asked me, Ernst, where does the river stop and the ocean begin? What's the end of the river and the start of the ocean? Let's have a look at that.
Das sind die letzten 5 Kilometer.
These are the last 5 kilometers to the open sea from Rotterdam to Hook of Holland, the third largest port in the world. And I wanted to see what it feels like to go from the Alps and swim all along the watercourse to the ocean. What does the Rhine do to me? What will the water do to me if I spend 2 months swimming the length of that river? That's what I wanted to experience.
Ich schwimme da mit der Gezeiten.
I'm swimming with the tides. I'm going out with the ebb towards the ocean, and then after 6 hours, the tide comes back, and you have to take that into account. There you see my family visiting me, or you saw my family visiting me, and this is the precise point where the river joins the sea. And I can tell you, to experience that in the water is just an undescribable thing. It's an undescribable moment. It's an undescribable feeling.
Und auf einmal?
And then suddenly the waves are different. And that's the point when you've been swimming for months and you've only seen water. Now you realize that you've reached the point that you were aiming for.
Wir sehen nochmal. Ja. Ich habe beim Rhein auch.
I also had a message that I wanted to convey by this swim along the Rhine, and it's this message. This here is the source of the Rhine with Rotterdam, the Thames and the Channel and London. So the Channel, the Thames and London. If you look at it that way, London is actually on the Rhine. And Cologne is on the Thames. And Davos is on the Amazon. If you look at it from that point of view, when I look at the world, I see the water, because this water connects all of us. Every individual human being, every living being is connected through this water. That's our fate. We have no choice as to whether we need water or don't. We do need, we don't, it's not a choice. We have to have water. We need it, we're allowed to have it, but there's also this idea of solidarity. You have to see to it that everyone has access to water as they need it. This was an expedition to Milan, to the World Expo. The World Expo 2015 the theme was how do we feed the world? And they had all sorts of solutions as to how to feed 10 billion people. I left the expo with my family and I said, if we have solutions to feeding 10 billion people, why can't we feed 7 billion people? We have the solutions. We have solutions to the use of water and to feeding people. Why don't we implement them? Why aren't we touched by this water crisis? Why doesn't it affect us? The expedition to Milan was a day and night expedition. I had to give up 10 kilometers before Milan, after 120 kilometers of swimming, because I was tired and because the water was so bad, 10 kilometers before Milan. But Milan is very, very close to Switzerland.
Wir sind Tag und Nacht unterwegs. Tag und Nacht, weil es die Realität ist. Menschen kämpfen 24 Stunden, 7 Tage pro Woche fürs Wasser, für ihr Leben. Die Herausforderung ist gross. Es wird hart.
Ernst hat Probleme mit seinen Schultern. Das wundert mich eigentlich als Mediziner nicht ganz. Nach dieser Belastung gewisse Probleme auftreten.
Wo kann ich mich festheben, dass ich nicht untergehe? Was erwartet mich noch?
'Cause I'm on fire, fire, oh, fire, fire, oh, fire, fire, oh.
Warum jetzt so kurz eigentlich vor dem Ziel auch, dass es plötzlich nicht mehr geht? Und das ist wirklich der Grund, dass er sich ganz stark auseinandersetzt über die Qualität des Wassers. Wo leben wir, in was für einer Umwelt?
Die Information, dass das Wasser verseucht ist, bringt mich mental um. Das Wasser stoppt mich.
Wir müssen jetzt abklären, ob hier wirklich ein Risiko besteht, wenn wir in diesem Kanal schwimmen. Ernst hat das Ganze natürlich jetzt auch entsprechend mitgenommen. Die ganze Erschöpfung, die natürlich hier auch dazukommt.
Wir haben zugeschaut, wie ein Mann gekommen ist. Und zuerst hat er so ins Wasser geschaut, dann hat er einfach die Hosen runtergemacht und hier reinpinkelt. Ist mir auch bewusst worden, dass die es nicht wissen, wie wichtig das Wasser ist. Dass man einfach zu dem Wasser Sorge muss haben. Und das tut weh.
Die Karte haben wir schon gesehen.
We've seen this map. And initially I said that I've been working as a water ambassador for 10 years now. And I've been thinking long and hard about where my journey is going to go. Do I have the passion and the commitment to continue this journey? And I concluded that I do want to continue, which is why I'm here today. As a water ambassador, I may be alone up on stage here. However, after 10 years working as a water ambassador, I conclude one person is not enough. We need more water ambassadors. I also concluded that figures don't really move us. All of us in this room, we know figures of the people who don't have access to water, clean water. We know the contamination of the water in figures. We know how much pesticides are in the water. We know the figures that record how much floods there have been. But do those figures move us? Aren't those figures just in our heads, and there's really no connection between our heads and our hearts? How do we connect this again? Connected to the heart and to water, to life. I'm starting a new journey in 2019, and with this journey I am trying to communicate that to people, this message to people all over the world that water is existence. It is a right of life. It is relevant for the climate, and it is destroyable. And it is a resource that is finite. At the ETH, I have talked to a researcher, and we drink the exact same water as we have been drinking for generations. For 500 years, 2,000 years, we have been drinking the same water, and it is in danger. Water is a finite resource. If we have a quick look at the world and the continents, well, there are many things that we could talk about, but just briefly. In Europe, it's not that everything is clean and plastic is everywhere else. No, we are also facing the challenges of microplastics. Each year, the Rhine transports 30 tons of microplastics. If I say 300 tons, well, wow. What does it change? Well, it's just a figure. How can we connect this figure to our heart so it moves us, to make it move us? And Africa has a lot of water, but a lot of it is contaminated. It makes people sick. Asia. This is a huge challenge when it comes to climate change. Many floods that affect millions and millions of people. Those are just figures in our heads. My campaign this year, 2019, is a global water campaign, and I'm launching it in Asia. I was there in October. I flew from Europe across Asia, all of Asia, Siberia, to this lake, the Baikal Lake. And this is really the destination for me for the next summer. This lake isn't just one lake, a lake. It's the largest drinking water reservoir of the entire world. 20% of the entire drinking water is here. If you look at the Great Lakes in North America, well, this one's bigger than them combined. And for the locals there, it is the source, the spring of the world. It's the oldest lake. And lake really is the wrong term because considering its dimensions, it's really a sea. Lake Baikal is beautiful. It's still the same as it was thousands of years ago. There's hardly any civilization. You see this delta, lake delta, there's no civilization. Beautiful bays. Really a paradise. Landscapes that are untouched by human hands. I met the people, the locals, and we traveled along this river, and it's still flowing the same way it has been doing for thousands of years into the lake of Baikal. Then I saw it for the first time, this lake. I touched it for the first time. The day after, we took a walk. There's hardly any civilization. It's very basically isolated. It's very archaic, exposed. Not the same thing we know in Europe. Water temperature was at the time 7 degrees Celsius. And then I took the first dip in October to get to know this lake, to befriend it. Will I be able to swim in it? It will be an expedition with my partners this summer where I will try to cross this lake, 800 kilometers. I will be exposed because we don't have the same infrastructure as we do in Europe. I'm trying to build a boat that can accompany me because with as little technology as possible, I'm really most connected to this lake. The challenge is, well, there's a small frame where I can use to do it because it will freeze over. Then it's about 2 months, that window. And then the team, I need a team that supports me. And I have partners that support me. And that really gives me the strength to go on this journey. Also with the World Economic Forum. This is the opportunity to really convey this message to the world. The message of water as a source of life. And also, I would like to thank my family for letting me go on this journey. I talked to Susan Goldberg before, and I told her that it's not easy. It's not easy to let go because, of course, there's a fear that something will go wrong. I met Alexander, Sasha, and Sasha, a Siberian fisherman. He said, "Niet. Ernst, you really have no chance. You cannot swim across that lake. It's too wild, too cold." And I told him, I do want to try. There has to be a way to really coexist with this lake. And I told him, Sasha, you need time. If you have time and respect, it can work. Because this is also Lake Baikal. 2 days after, there was a big storm. And photographer Morris and I, we weren't sure whether we should try to swim in it. And this is really this untamed wildness this lake has. I go there, I will go there as a water ambassador. But we need more water ambassadors, and how can you become one? You can become one now, today. You can start now. It really doesn't depend on education or money or status. Just start. As a water ambassador, well, it sounds very trivial, but just pick up a piece of trash every time you're at a place where there's water. It just requires continuity, one small step at a time, day after day. Not just one big event and afterwards nothing happens. Just be consistent and take a piece of trash with you every time you see one. Pick it up. And then share the water. Water is a human right. We must share water. And we must use it. Maybe in your own little garden you want to have a pretty patch of flowers. You decide, how will you fertilize them? Do you use pesticides? Do you use something else? We need to return water in a clean way, because 500 years from now, people will require the same water that we're using now. So it has to do with us, with energy that we can save if we save water. And this is what really makes it possible. All of this that I've just mentioned can only happen, can only work if there's a connection between us as human beings and the world and its water. This is why I will cross the Lake Baikal, to connect. Whether you do something similar, well, that's up to you, but once at least a year, try to get in touch with water. Only if we're moved, if we're touched by it, we can act. Otherwise, nothing happens. And if we can understand water, then we can understand this entire blue miracle that is Earth. And then we enter a new era, and may sound a bit empty or pathetic, but this is a new age that we can enter near. Because this age of burning everything to the ground, burning our sources, our resources, let's enter into an era of water. If we have a reasonable way of handling water, then we have a foundation for the future.
Aber man weiß nicht so genau, wie man ihn erfüllen kann, wie man die Botschaft von den Möglichkeiten und von Solidarität übermitteln kann. Wie kann man der Welt sauberes Wasser bringen? Gewisse sagen, es ist naiv. Aber man kann jeden Tag einen Tropfen in einen Kessel füllen. Und obwohl es so aussieht wie nichts, wird der Kessel bald voll sein. Kleine Sachen werden gross, wenn man sie bewässert.
Danke vielmals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Oh no, good morning, everybody. My name is Susan Goldberg. I'm the editor-in-chief of National Geographic and the editorial director of National Geographic Partners. And I am so delighted to be here with you today, Ernst, to talk about the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you to be here.
So this was a very interesting talk, talking about your motivations for doing this. But I think people would wonder, I know I wonder, what is it like out there swimming by yourself hour after hour? What does that feel like?
It's my way, it's my style, and I love this. When I'm on land, I'm a water ambassador, but for me it's a great opportunity to be in these lakes, to be in these freshwater lakes, and it's a challenge, it's a physical challenge, it's a mental challenge, but I like this way.
So what are the things that you've encountered when you're swimming actually that are the hardest? I mean, so do you see the pollution you mentioned, or what is that like? What have you run into?
The lakes in Switzerland are in good shape.
Yeah.
We have these problems also with pesticides and microplastic and so. But when I swam the Rhine, this was a question, what is about the pollution? And for me, I had no problems. These 2 months I was in the Rhine, but it's only me, so I can say this is not a problem for each other.
And do you see a lot of plastic?
Yes, you see the plastic. As I said before, we have 30 tons of microplastic in the Rhine each year. But you see also all the fish and who died because the Rhine is a huge street with huge ships, and so it's really busy. And this is also a problem as a swimmer, because you are in the Rhine, you are so small, and you are all these huge boats, and this was really stress.
Were you worried they were going to run you over? I mean...
Yes, I had a small support boat with Captain Pablo. I was called Pablo. But it was also really stress time for Pablo, because the huge ships, and it was also a challenge to swim there.
It does sound a challenge. And when we were talking before in the other room, you said that Lake Baikal might have a certain challenge that you've never run into before. Maybe you could tell everybody.
Yeah, the Lake Baikal it's not a lake. It's really an ocean, and so you have great storms. I'm alone, so I have my staff team at the shore, but you are alone in this lake, and also there are bears at the shore.
There are bears.
There are bears at the shore, but they're not sharks, so.
Well, I don't know. I work at National Geographic. We have a lot of beautiful photographs of bears, and I'm not so sure I would want to swim near a bear. It would be a little bit scary.
But I know bears are good swimmers.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge.
Okay, so that's a new
Maybe
challenge.
I have more challenges at the shore than in the water. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. So when you're out there, you're swimming, you're alone. I mean, you have a boat, but really in the water is an isolating thing. And what are you thinking about out there?
You know, when I'm in expeditions, or like when I swam the Rhine or to Milano, so I'm really concentrated. So there is not a lot to. Yeah, no, I'm really focused, because I'm checking my elbows, my technique. I'm checking my shoulders. I'm checking my foot. All these things, and also it's my profession. So I try to do these expeditions also with a lot of power. own ambition also. So it's not a joke. So I'm taking this really serious.
And what are the lessons that you learn yourself from being out there on this water?
The most important lesson is respect.
Oh, talk more about that.
Yeah, respect. Respect for my own life. Respect for my family. And as I said, it's not still simple. And respect for the nature. And this I learned when I swam the first time the Rhine, where I failed. Without respect, you are so small. And respect is what I miss when I look at the world today. The respect for the nature, respect for the resources. And it's the most important thing.
So that's the message that you want people to take, that you're encountering nature in such a way that you have to have respect for nature, and so people should have.
Yes, it's maybe also the kind why I try now to swim the Lake Baikal. I want to try to swim this lake, and it's an experiment. I don't know if I will reach these 800 kilometers to swim, but I try to swim this without a lot of technique, to swim really in a proper way, in a respectful way. And if you have a lot of technique, a lot of boats, a lot of GPS, and then, so you make the lake smaller and smaller. And this is, so I try to swim the Lake Baikal.
So you want to be one small man in a very big lake,
Exactly.
as opposed to a lot of stuff.
I tried the most difficult way.
Okay.
And not the simple way.
Because there are other people who are long-distance swimmers. I'm thinking about Diana Nyad, for example, who I think the last swim that she went from Cuba to Florida, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But that seems like a very different kind of thing.
Yes, there are different kinds to swim lakes, different kinds to swim an ocean or rivers. And it's like mountaineering. There are mountaineers, the Himalaya, they climb with oxygen. And others say, no, I want to climb with oxygen. And also the swimmers there are different ways to swim. There are rules. There are, for example, channel swimming rules. And I'm ruleless because I try really to go my own way and to find a way through this lake with respect and not with technique.
So you're going to start in the summer, this summer.
Yes, and the south of the lake.
Okay, and you're going to swim north.
Yes.
And when will you finish? By October?
I don't know. The Siberian summer is like the fisherman Sasha said. The Siberian summer is July and September.
Okay,
and
so short
October
period,
is
yeah.
It's really cold, and the water is in October is 7-8 degrees.
That's, yeah.
And then 7-8 degrees, I can swim each day maybe 15-20 kilometers. And this is my approach, is by good conditions to swim 15-20 k's each day. So I hope I will be back so middle September.
Okay. So what are you doing between now and then to get ready?
Now, after the WEF, after all these emotions, I go back, I go home, and then I will start a really important half year. So we will plan the expedition, we have to check the tent, the sleep bag, the food, I have to check my swim equipment, all these things, but in this half year, I have maybe 2 or 3 speeches, lectures, because the next half year is for my family, is for training, is also to collect all the power I can find somewhere, to be so focused, to be so full of joy to can swim this lake in July.
What kind of training will you do?
And now in Davos, I'm doing a lot of cross-country skiing. I'm doing a little bit of swimming, but I don't like really the pools. I like open water.
Well, it would
and
be...
the great Davos See now is also frozen.
Yeah, you can't swim in
And
here.
then when it starts spring, I'm then in open water in the Davos See. We will test also different kind of equipment, and then also there are the Walensee in here and the Bodensee, so I have a lot of lakes. But this is the time in May, June, April, I will start then with my open water training.
And how do you get mentally ready?
Mentally, it's also a question of confidence. And now I'm doing this 10 years, so I know a little bit what I have to expect. It's a new mountain, it's a new expedition, but I have a lot of experiences, and I try really to find a mix between this expedition, between my experiences and this what is now the adventure. And this is also a great feeling to live now a dream, and now I don't know really the results. So I have to dive in and to go this way.
So you mentioned that you were going to be giving some speeches. Do you do a lot of talking with younger people to talk to them about this? And what is the message to younger people especially?
The message is, one message is, there is a chance to go his way, to find a passion in life, who is now my life as water ambassador. And the second point is, and maybe we have after a little discussion, if they are ready to be water ambassadors, how they, maybe for them this is a good idea to be a water ambassador. Maybe one say, no, it's boring, I'm not a water ambassador, but I want to say, I'm interesting now.
So not to put too fine a point on it, but you're 50.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe swimming these kinds of distances is not, you can't do it forever.
No.
Okay, so, I mean, but still a long time, but not forever. So what are the other things that you could see yourself doing as a water ambassador, if not physically swimming? I mean, are there other places you want to travel to look at the problems and to look for solutions, or what is in your head about that?
Now I really don't know the answer, because there is one risk. The risk is not to live now in the moment. I have this huge dream, this huge expedition, this huge adventure this summer. And now I'm really focused on this way through the Lake Baikal. And I have a lot of time there. Maybe I can do this answer when I come back. First is now the Lake Baikal.
Okay, so you're
I don't know what is in 3, 4, 5 years. I can't say.
So what does your family is supportive of this? Mm-hmm. Would have to be, I think.
Yes, my family is supporting me. Where is my family?
Out there.
There is Damaris.
Oh, wonderful.
And Cornelia. And Benjamin should also be here. Benjamin enjoy my English, so enjoying my English. And Salome is not here, he's at school.
So when we were talking before, I mean, the problems that you look at are pesticides, plastics, drying, and garbage. Mm-hmm. You know, I hope you don't see too much of any of those things in Lake Baikal. But have you been to places in Asia and Africa where you know, that is in the water everywhere?
Yes, I visited with Cornelia. Maybe it's 2 or 3 years ago. We visited the Lake Victoria in Uganda, and the Lake Victoria is the greatest lake of Africa. And I was there. I didn't swim there because you have bilharziose. It's a parasite.
Okay.
I don't know now the right words, but this is so paradox. You have a lot of water, middle of Africa, and you can't drink this water.
Right, water everywhere and nothing to drink.
And this is so strange.
Yeah.
Yes, it's already.
We would love to bring everybody else into the conversation. I think there are microphones for people who have questions for Ernst. Oh, come on, he's doing an amazing thing.
Maybe
Somebody
Susan,
must want to know.
Professor Wehrli is also here.
Right here.
Maybe
Okay, fantastic.
you can also give a question to Bernhard. Maybe because Bernhard is supporting me really.
Yeah. I have been 25 years ago. I have been in Lake Baikal, on Lake Baikal, and since then we studied that a lot. I mean, there's one thing, one number which might help you. In the last 60 years, in summer, the lake heated up by more than 2 degrees. So you have a little bit warmer. But I respect it a lot that you want to swim this big jewel. If we would pour Lake Baikal on Switzerland, Switzerland would be 500 meters underwater. So it's an amazing treasure of fresh water.
Treasure.
I'm looking forward to your expedition.
Thank you, Bernhard, for supporting me.
Okay, my name is Stefan Zöflo. I'm a little bit a specialist for Russia and for the CIS countries. And I would be interested if you had already about the Aral Sea, which is Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, which disappeared.
Oh, the Aral Sea, yes.
The Aral Sea is a catastrophe. The Aral Sea maybe could also be a symbol how we shouldn't do it. Maybe this is the yes, the Aral Sea is known here in Switzerland also, but the Baikal isn't known, and we shouldn't do the same mistakes as we did with the lake Aral.
Sir?
Are there any threats to the Baikal Sea? Are there any current threats to the Baikal Sea in pollution or in things that are in the immediate future?
The south of the lake, there are industry, and there I have some questions about the water quality. We're more in the north, so when I swam 150 kilometers, the lake is probably really clean. So it's really fresh water, so probably I can really drink this water from the water from the lake.
So your concerns in swimming it will be more at the start of your journey, because that's where the pollution is.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ernst, for this brilliant input. And I think this was already one of the most important input of this week, because if we're not able to solve this global water crisis, then a lot of conflicts in the future will be based on this topic. And strongly connected to the global water crisis, in my opinion, is a global crisis in the dimension of time. And only if we understand, and I think really the word understanding is important, if we understand time and if we understand water, then we can bring the world in a better state. So thank you for this brilliant speech.
Thank you for being here, Thomas.
My name is Sabrina Miko. I'm working for the World Foundation for Natural Science, and I'm also, it's really my concern to bring awareness for the situation of the oceans and the water on Earth. And I'm really moved by your very inspiring speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because for me, I really agree with you that this is the most fundamental approach, that we feel connected with the water. And we are connected because our bodies consists of more or less 80% of water. We are water beings, and if we don't realize the other way around, when we really start to realize this, that without water we are water beings, and we are just connected with water everywhere. And I liked also this picture very much where you showed us that London is close to the Rhine, and then I think we can really turn the situation around. But as you said, the figures and the facts, yes, they are impressing. They are shocking. They're really shocking also. But we need to start, everyone, in our personal lives, and with the love and the respect. And it really, really touched me very much that you, the lesson, when you asked him what lesson he took, is the respect. The respect for your own body, your limits, and for your family, of course, but also for the nature. And it's all one. We are all connected. And as we are connected with the water, we are also connected, each and everyone here in this room. Because, as you said, we are all drinking the water of our ancestors, all the people that lived eons of years ago, and we have to be aware of that. And when we go to the toilet, we give the water back. How do we give it back? And if you know Emoto and his wonderful, wonderful water crystal pictures, you know that water can, store information. And so with our emotions, with our thoughts, with our feelings, we really always charge information on the water, also on our body water. And it's good to have a feeling of gratitude when we drink and also when we go to the toilet and give the water out again. So thank you very, very much. And I wish you all the best and very, very good luck and all the blessings of heaven for your great expedition. Thank you.
Thank you for all your words. Thank you.
I think we have, yes, please.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the panel and the presentation. I truly appreciate it. I'm a city dweller. What are some small actions that I could take on a daily basis to have an impact?
No, I didn't understand really your question. I will listen in German. Can you?
So I'm a city dweller, and I would like to have an impact on a daily basis. What are the small things that we could do as individuals and communities to give back and to help your cause?
I will say, try to drink water from the tap. Try it. The WEF is doing a great job this year because we are drinking water from the tap, from the sources here in Davos. Why should we drink here water from French, or maybe water from America? This is only lifestyle. We don't need this lifestyle because this is the life we have here. So try to drink water from the tap. Try to do when you are walking, jogging, I don't know, at the shore, at the river where you live. I'm sure there is also water.
Yes.
Pick up, every time you are there, pick up a piece of trash and bring it home. Try to save water. Maybe I take a shower not every time, not every day. So maybe I have weeks, I do 2 times, maybe a shower. Because I'm still okay, I'm not smelling. And you can save energy and you can save water. Try to fight for water as a human right. Try to fight. Because 2 billion people are not in this situation like we do. And try to be also a water ambassador when you share water. When you take your water from the tap, I drink at home my water, so from the tap, but as family we drink water like now. And when you take the carafe and you give to Mrs. Susan Goldberg to your bottle of water.
Thank you very much.
So you are a water ambassador because you share the water. Is this an answer?
Yes, thank you, and best of luck for your expedition.
Well, one of the things I'm hoping that Ernst will do is come and swim in the Great Lakes in the United States, because it would raise a lot of awareness there too for what he's doing. All of the Great Lakes, I think, are maybe together still a little smaller than Lake Baikal, but pretty big.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to contrast the experiences that you would have there. You know, in Lake Michigan near Chicago or Gary, Indiana, you would find a lot of pollution, but as you move north, similarly, it would get much cleaner, much nicer, but it would be an interesting experience, I think. Maybe next challenge.
First Baikal.
First Baikal, sorry.
Thank you for the invitation. First Baikal.
Okay, we got time for one more question right back here, sir.
Hi, thank you so much for your great presentation. We're very privileged here in Switzerland to have relatively clean water, but other than raising awareness, how can we maybe help up, like you said, pick up trash, but is there anything else we can do to help clean up places like in less developed countries or around us?
For me, it's difficult because there are so many problems and challenges. But I will say, really start now, and try to do something in your environment, in your area. Start now to act and do these small steps, but do these steps every day. And if you're engaged every day for the next 40, 50 years, and we have a lot of people who is doing this each day, then we will change something. This is only this way. But we need people in Asia, in Africa, all around the world. And now we start this idea, also with these icons. Now this is the idea, and now it's in this river. And let us see where the journey will bring us.
Well, I think you have left everybody with a very inspiring message and a great reminder to all of us to use less single-use plastics, to keep it out of the water in the first place, to help pick up the trash so it doesn't end up in the rivers and then in the oceans, and just to respect the water and, you know, drink it, but use a little less of it in our regular lives. So I think we should say cheers.
Cheers.
And thank you, everybody.